Hello guys, welcome back. I'm your friend InsideXO. This is the last video for the series. I don't know how you feel. I guess most people, if they do not know the Flighter, they will freak out when they say all those strange characters on the screen. It's quite normal. Most people do if they don't know anything about this, but that's fine. Let's just conquer it one by one, a little by little. Since we have implemented a Twitter class, and this should be the basement for everything else that we create, that we will be creating. So we will initialize it at the very beginning of everything else. So it should be right in here. You say my Twitter equal to my Twitter. Now it seems like the C++ or the Java, they're the same thing for this sentence or for this command. Then we will need to import it right in here. So in the end, I guess I just want to create some fake data at the beginning. So how can we do that? First, we say my Twitter. That's that's not the case. My Twitter should be this. Why cannot use it? Well, it's simply because at the top you have declared a database, so that's why you could use it everywhere. But for now, we just want to have a Twitter at the beginning. There should be something like this. Now if we go back to here, we should be able to say my tweet dot something. Awesome. So we could say my tweet dot post a tweet with a message. Let's say message. You know what, we probably still need an initialize function for it. For some programming languages, they call the initialize function constructor. Oh, I got it. It's just like what the Java does. You just have to repeat it again. It's kind of boring. So what you do is repeat the len. Okay, here we go. So for this case, we could do something like this. We create a few tweeters. For example, the first Twitter would be hi 1. The second one, hi 2. The date would be from 1 to 2. Okay, that's enough for now. Let's go on. For the get message last, we don't need the old code. For this case, that would be my tweet. That's all tweets. This is the last. And all we have to do is return it. That's it. Easy and simple. And for the get messages, let me do this. We don't need all those boring code. All we have to do is call the get message last function. Let's say get message last function. Then if we get that kind of value, we say temp messages equal to the last of values. Then we do an update for those views, and that's it. And for now, if we run this software, we got an error. Cannot read the properties. Symbol of undefined. It keeps raise this kind of error crazily. For some reason I solved this problem. I guess it's just a bug or something like that. You know, if you but for now I used another logic to handle this. For example, here I got the temp message is a message last. Then if my Twitter or tweets doesn't equal to the temp messages, that means we need to update the temp messages from the Twitter. Otherwise, we just return the temp messages that we have because nothing changes, right? If it got changes, we change it. Otherwise, just always return the class variable here. I don't know why if I do it in this way, the Flighter will stop complaining and stop raising errors and working properly. But it's worked. That's all we need. This is only one simple example. Instead of this, we should also have a button. For example, here, if I click this add button, it should aid as a Twitter. But wait a minute, do you really need that? For now, if we do that, that could take a lot of time, and I don't have that much time. So let's just go to the building of the views. For this kind of thing, if it's a tweet, we could click it and go to another view where we could say this Twitter followed by other tweets that reply to this tweet. It's kind of abstract, but that's what we are going to implement. Here I just create a new component. I will call it tweet view or just tweet. It's one component. And for this tweet, it should have a stateful statement, and we shall give it a length. Let's just say tweet. For this one, we need to import the material package. So now all those arrows are gone. It's gone. For the simplest counter, we'll say child equal to center of something. Let's say I just want to give it a text. Okay. For this one, let's go to the card. For this card, it got the message. You get something like this. It has a message. If we click one of them, it could, let's say, it could print out the ID. Let's say if we click this one, it will say card 1 tapped. If we click the second one, it will say card 2 tapped. That's awesome. So in this case, we could get the messages information when we click some one of those card. Then we want to do a jump from this page to another page or to another component. How can we do that? Inside of the Flighter documents, it says that you have to create 2 roads. But as I could say, the road is nothing but another stateful widget or stateless widget, a component. And we do a navigation by using those codes here. So let's do a push. Navigator push material page route with the second route, which is the tweet for now. Okay, then let's import it from here. We could import the tweets by doing this. Okay, so now if we go to the web page, if we click one of them, we could just get into a new page, and we could go back by click this button. For this Twitter, it's just too simple. We need to create something else. Let's say we will at least have a scaffold for tweet page. But now it's more like a page. So now we have a scaffold. It's more acceptable for us right now. But we need something else. At least we should have a app bar with a return arrow in the top of our view. Alright, now since I have used this attribute, I have set this attribute automatically imply letting equal to true. So if we collect one of the card, we could get into a new page while still be able to go back by click this back icon in the top of our view. The problem now is that how can we get this message information from the tweet widget? Well, it's quite simple. We just have to define it here, I guess. Okay, if it's not there, it should be right in here. Alright, for the stateful widget, it can be a little bit complex. So at the first, you need to do something like this: key equal to key, and you're gonna say this, that messaging, and you define such a messaging. I'm about to broken. I guess it's more simple. It can be simplified if we use a stateful-less. If we use a stateless widget for it. And for now, if we route it to another component, the tweet component, we need to pass the messaging to it. Okay, in the end, it looks like this. Okay, for now, we could get the messaging here. For example, we could say this, that message. Oh, wait, why we could get the message from here? Probably we could say this, that we get that message. Oh, that's boring. Why we should do this? Alright, so for now we could display the message that we just get. So we can say this widget that message that ID. We could get the ID. We can also get the message, but let's say the ID. Then we convert it to string and plus something. Okay, for now, if we click one of the card, we would say 1, the new page, 2, the new page. Awesome. So I just want to simplify it for a little bit. So message equal to this, that we get that message. Okay. For this card, we need to display a series of card. Okay, instead of this pure text, we need a list of cards. So again, what do we do? Let's go to the page, the last widgets here. For this kind of scene, it's purely based on the, let's say, the last model. That's not correct because it's a component. It should be separated from the data. So it should be a pure component or pure widget. And what it does is to display display the data that we gave to it, then fetching the data directly from our backend or data source. That could be a problem if we want to reuse this component in the future. So let's do a refactory for this component or for this widget. First, we do a copy for the whole class. Then we say we do not need the consumer. And since this is a stateless widget, all we need is a list of messages. Okay, that's our refactory. Then we go to the main Dart file. From here, my last should be okay. We also need to set the initialize function here, so that we could say messages equal to the last model's messages, and the lesson here should be true. Great. So now everything just works fine after we did that refactory. Then in the traits, we should say instead of display the text, we should display a list of no, not a list of trait, but it should be something like this. We should have a column. No, that's not what I want. Say flatter layout. Okay, here we go. We just need a clone with children with expanded. Clone with children. We just need two of them. One expanded equal to text I, and another expanded child text with guys. For now, if we go to one of them, we should say, you should say two equally. The two of them have the same sizes. But now I'm gonna make it have different sizes. For example, the first one could have a flex equal to 1, and the second one I should give it a number. For example, I could give it a line. That's not so intuitive. I just wanna. I don't know if I can change the corner of this. Let's say we just want to add a widget, add center. Still not fine. I just want to add another one. How can we add the background for a text? Fine. That's okay. Now let's do this. For the first class, we do not need a text. We need a card. So we could say my card message equal to message. If we get into it, we would say something like this. For now, as you can say, for the first one, it's message last. Should be followed by a list of my card. For the messages, it should be a map from, let's say, if the message gets children, it should be a map to, let's say, if we get the my Twitter, we should be able to get a post or get a Twitter by the ID. So E, that's ID, or maybe just the E would be enough for us. Okay, so if we go to one of them, we get an error. Invalid member unknown. Map. No such method error. This shouldn't happening to us. The children at the beginning should be an empty list. We stop it and we run it again. And we get into it, expected a value of type list of messages, but got one of type mapped listener whatever. So maybe we should convert the final result to a last here. So for now we get it successfully. But one more thing to do, we need to rebuild our traits. We should say my traits, that reply trait, the ID, for example, the 1, with some new messages. Let's call it reply 1 and reply 2. Yeah, for now we get some problems. For the homepage, it shouldn't show us the reply. Let's go to the first elements. Okay, For now, as you can see, we can get the original tweeter, and we can get other tweets that replies to it. We get 3 and 4. That's exactly what we want, but here's the problem. We shouldn't get the 3 and 4. So for the messages, if we go to the 2, we would see nothing. If we get the 3 and 4, we can only see the 3 and 4. But only if we get into the 1, we could say the 3 and 4. This is a complex scenario. We need to think about it carefully. You know what? For now, the simplest way for solving this problem is to add a keyword here. Before you do anything, let's say Flutter reference path. Dart does not support passing by reference. But that's fine. That's totally fine. So I should define it at the beginning. I should say this message type should be, it's a string. It's gonna be a type. Each time when we post that tweet, we need to specify the type. Let's say this is a post, and for the reply, okay guys, I solved this problem. At the first way, let's say from the messaging, I have defined a keyword called type. And for this type, what I did is here, if we post a Twitter, the default type is post. If we reply to a Twitter, the type would be reply. And then in the last components, here I said we will only show the messages with a certain type. And for the main screen, I choose the type of post. And for the for a specific tweet last, we show the type of reply. In the end, we can get this kind of result. From the main screen, we can only see the main post, and if we click one of them, we get into it, we can only see the reply string. That's awesome. But for now, we still get some problems. For example, there will always show us the 15, which is not correct. So if we go to the card, we should change this 15 to a value from the messaging. So it should be the length of charging. Now, if we refresh this, we will say, oh, the first one got 3 reply, and we get into it, we say something like this. That's awesome, but yeah, I guess this would be fine for us right now. So this is a basic idea of how can we build a Twitter-like application. Also, if you want to do some experiment, you could always go to here and try to write something for it. For example, we can write more. Okay, for now, for the first tweet, we got 3 replay below it, and for the second tweet, we get 1 replay below it. Cool. And to be honest, for this application, it got a lot of things that we could work on in the future. For example, we could implement an input button or input box to let the user actually input some messages like the real Twitter does. And we can also save all those data in a real database, for example, the SQL letter database. Or we could implement a search component or widget to let the user do a search for tweets he wrote. And also in the settings, we could somehow implement a import and export function so that we could save those data to somewhere else, for example, the cloud desk, the Google desk or something like that. Then when the time was right, we could import that data back to our application. And of course, we could merge our existing data into this new application. To be honest, we could do whatever we want, since now I am a real coder. I'm a real developer for the software. So basically, in theory, I could do anything I want. I could build any software I want. So in theory, this is possible. The only thing that I need to do is to work on those things and thinking as an engineer and thinking it as a real developer would do. So as long as I am still alive, I could do this. I feel free. I feel happy and energetic about the software development. So that's today's tutorial, and also that's probably well, it's not the end of this series. We will continue to do that, but not for now, not for this week, even not for this month. Maybe I'll do it in the next time. But anyway, this project has to go on in someday of our future, you know. In the end, this application should be an mature application or an application that could be able to be published to the Google Play Store or the App Store if I got money to buy an Apple device. Anyway, that's today's tutorial. Thanks for the watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.